Good morning again, and welcome to our daily devotion. Today, I want to look at um, something that I believe many people struggle with. The book of Philippians, chapters 4 and verse 11. Paul is sharing here, and he said, I am not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content with whatever the circumstances. It's interesting that he said, I have learned to be content. And that's because contentment or being content, content with what you have, being okay with where you are, oftentimes is something that we have to learn. There are people that are always trying to fight a situation, trying to fight a circumstance. They're never at rest, never fully at rest. Always trying to get ahead, trying to control things. And when they find themselves that they are unable to control the situation that they are in, they just can't function. They become so obsessed with trying to gain back control. Like I said earlier on, the theme of this month has been really around the acknowledgement, the understanding that God is with you in everything and throughout every experience that you may have. God said, I will not leave you, I will not forsake you, I will help you, and I will strengthen you. God is aware of what is going on, is aware of every details of our life. And we have to get to a point where we have learned that this is the case, that God is aware, that God knows. And not just does he know, he cares. And not just does he care, he has a plan. When you know that God knows and that God cares and that God has a plan, this revelation puts you in a place of contentment. Contentment means that, you know what? I may not understand where I am, but I am grateful and I am thankful because I am not alone in this place. Paul said, I have learned that in whatsoever the circumstance that I face, I have learned to be content. I have learned to be okay. I have learned to not allow what is happening around me disturb my joy. Our joy shouldn't come from how good and pleasant things are going. Our joy should come primarily from the fact that God is with us in that circumstance. It might be an unpleasant circumstance, and I understand that. But there's no point being discontent at every place or in junctions of our life, when the Bible teaches us that all things work together for good. Romans chapter 8. Let's just read that scripture. Romans chapter 8 and verse 28. It says, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. So I want you to know that God is working out everything for your good because you have been called according to his purpose. Don't allow yourself to be in discontent, but learn to appreciate God in every circumstance, wherever you are, whatever it may look like. Be content. Say, God, I thank you because you know that I'm here and you still have a plan. You know, and one thing about God, that God is not constantly changing his plans. His plans for us are eternal plans. And all we have to do, because God's plan for us is far much better than the plan we could have for ourselves. So all we have to do is to key in into God's plan, is to align ourselves into God's plan, is to pray ourselves into God's purpose, into God's plan for our lives. So I want to encourage you today to not be discontent, but to learn to be content. In the book of 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 6, he says, but godliness with contentment is good gain, is great gain. It's a big clause. Godliness with contentment, with okayment, he might use that word. He just said, I know that everything is working together for my good. It may be unpleasant, but I know it's working together for my good. Paul was going through some certain things in his life, and he prayed to God. In the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 9, he said, God said to him, he said, my grace is sufficient for you. My grace is enough. Even though this thing may linger, this situation may linger, this challenge may linger, but my grace is sufficient for you. And I want to leave us with that message today. It's a very short message, but I hope it blesses your heart. To not be discontent, because God knows, God cares, and God has a plan. And while you're going through that unpleasant situation or something that is not what you expected it to be, I want you to know that God's grace is enough to empower you to go through. There is a reward at the end, and everything is working out for your good. It's not a waste of time. It's not a waste of resources. It's not a waste of your emotions. It may look like that now, but I'm trusting the one that has the plan, the one that knows, the one that cares. That is all going to work out for your good. I pray that this will bless you and that you have a very blessed and fruitful day. God bless you, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. Thank you.